Good evening, all of you. Chief guest of today's function, Justice Chandraya Garu, Chairperson, Telangana State Human Rights Commission, and Mrs. Radharani Garu, Presiding Officer, State Sales Tax Appellate Tribunal, Professor Gali Vinod Kumar Garu, Head Department of University College of Law, Dr. Avulappa Garu, and Janardhan Reddy Garu, and Dr. Amita Garu. Good evening, all of you. Today morning at 7:30, Justice Chandraya called me and he requested me to come and inaugurate this particular program. Then I said, sir, I will come, and that's how I am here now. And not only myself, every judge, whether he is a retired judge or sitting judge, we have our respect to His Lordship Justice Chandraya, even till today. So that is the reason immediately I accepted. I said, sir, I am coming. I'll be there with you, sir. I told him in the morning like that. So 7:30 I got message from Justice Chandraya, and by 4:30 I was here. So that shows our respect towards Justice Chandraya. And coming to Human Rights Commission, I want to share my experience. Justice Subhash Reddy was the chairman of Human Rights Commission. The employees of Nizam Club and Secunderabad Club, they have filed complaints before the Human Rights Commission saying that the inquiry officer, the disciplinary inquiry, domestic inquiry officer, he is not granting adjournment as sought by them. That was the grievance of the employees. So I represented the Nizam Club and Secunderabad Club. Then I said, sir, this complaint is not maintainable. Just because the inquiry officer is not, because we have initiated discipline, the employees of Nizam Club and Secunderabad Club, they have committed certain misconducts. So we have initiated discipline. We have placed them under suspension and we have issued charge sheets, and we have appointed one inquiry officer. So the employees came and sought adjournment time. The inquiry officer denied that the opportunity. They sought 10 days time and inquiry officer gave 2 days time. So their grievance was not granting 10 days time. That was their grievance. So then I asked him, sir, I am appearing for the club. It is not within the purview of human right. So therefore complaints are not maintainable. Then he said, Lakshman, complaints are maintainable because denial of justice, so itself is violation of human rights. That's how he said. So it all depends on the person and his approach sitting on the bench. So my submission to Justice Chandraya is the scope of human right is wide. It all depends. When I was sitting in Human Rights Commission, a father came and met Justice Subhash Reddy. So his grievance was his children are not looking after his welfare. And most unfortunately, a country like in India, we have one act called Senior Citizens Welfare and Parents. What is that act, madam? There is an act. So even a maintenance act. Even to look after our welfare of our parents, we need one act. That is the most unfortunate situation in India. And we are talking about litigation, increase of cases, and Professor Vinod Kumar and Mr. Janardhan Reddy said it will take 300 years. So what is that we are doing? And people who are going to US and other developed countries, they are coming and saying, sir, there is only a single window system and everything is all right there. They are telling everything about the systems there. But nobody is telling about the approach of the people of developed countries. I'll tell you a small example. In Hyderabad, I'm particularly pointing out Hyderabad. Suppose there is a traffic signal. If red light is there, what our people will do? They want to break the law. If red light is also there, is there, they will jump the red light and go. But whereas in the US, they will not go. They will wait for 3 hours or 2 hours. But people coming from US and other developed countries, they will not tell these things to the people of India or Hyderabad. So we have to tell even good things also, not only bad things. We have our own weaknesses, we have our own system lapses and all those things. And fortunately or incidentally, I am sitting in commercial litigation. From Monday to Wednesday, I am sitting single and I have my own roster. Roster includes electricity matters, cooperation, and also commercial litigation. And every Thursday, Friday, I am sitting in a division bench. Even our division bench deals with commercial litigation, commercial court appeals. So depending on the valuation, it will go to a single judge and it will go to a division bench. It depends on the valuation. So incidentally, I am sitting in commercial litigation, single, as well as in a division bench. So that's how I am, maybe it's an incidental this thing. Just now, Mr. Janardhan Reddy told about the litigation and pendency, etc. My swearing was 26th August 2019. I am in this profession since last 23 years. Before my elevation, I was Assistant Solicitor General of India. That means I used to represent central government litigation in High Court. So that is called Assistant Solicitor General of India. My experience is, government is the biggest litigant. Government is the biggest litigant. I'll share my experience. Now, I have roster of electricity, all state corporations, cooperation, commercial litigation, Waqf, etc. Even Right to Information Act I have. 50% of the cases, Waqf, electricity, etc., the grievance of the petitioners is not consideration of the representations. So people will submit a representation with a particular request. They can as well dispose it of. They will not dispose. 50% of the cases, I'm not exaggerating myself, 50% of the litigation is considered my representation. You are receiving it, you can say yes or no. Put it in black and white and send it. You don't do that. They will file writ petition because writ petition is their right. See, we can't deny a particular person's right to approach the court. So that's how the litigation is being increased. Coming to arbitration and conciliation, if I'm not wrong, this act is of 1940. So people anticipated the speedy justice system. Now, people are expecting instant justice. So by expecting instant justice, you know what happened? Because of social media, print media, electronic media, the people have increased pressure on the officers. So officers, what did the officer do? They have done two, whatever you call it, one in Warangal and the other one in Shamshabad. So that pressure built up by these people, so made the officers mistake, or we don't know. Because the matter is pending, I don't want to speak much on that. So people, what I mean to say is, people are expecting instant justice. So that's how the expectation is. So this was anticipated by the legislature in 1940 itself. And this particular enactment, arbitration and conciliation, underwent several amendments. Earlier, the arbitration award, we have to file an application before concerned court to make it rule of law. Because of the amendment, this award now became a decree, executable decree. So after award, we can straight away file execution petition and we can go for execution of that particular amendment. And even before amendment, suppose if any person wants to file, challenges the award passed by an arbitrator, filing of an appeal under section 34 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act itself is automatic stay. So now, by virtue of the amendment, one has to file stay application, seeking stay of award passed by the arbitrator. So that's how the amendments are also coming. And Arbitration and Conciliation Act is a judgment-made law. And earlier, for even small things, people used to come to High Court, challenging the orders passed by arbitrators, challenging the award passed by the arbitrators, and the orders passed by the judges, district judge rank, under section 34 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. So by virtue of the amendments and the recent judgments, any interim order passed by arbitrator, there is no, CRP is not, revision is not maintainable. So all the defenses, the person has to take in section 34 application, which is an appeal challenging the award. So that's how the approach of the judiciary is now. And the other important aspect is, even nowadays, normally Section 34 applications are being filed challenging the awards. The district judge is the concerned person who has to deal with that Section 34 application. And they are not granting stays automatically. The one has to satisfy the judge even to grant stay. Stay is not automatic. So that's how the people are thinking to deliver justice delivery system, speedy delivery system, and all those things. So that's how the Arbitration and Conciliation Act underwent several amendments. And in view of the recent judgments of the Supreme Court, limitation, everything they have to take before the arbitrator. Limitation, all defenses. Earlier, the law was altogether different. So there is definitely change of the judiciary and also the judgments. So, but the one problem we have, as Mrs. Radharani said, in every application, every agreement, there is a arbitration clause nowadays. Suppose if they accept, arbitrator will be appointed with mutual consent. If they don't accept, one has to go to High Court under Section 11(6). If it is international arbitration, one has to file 11(6) application before the Supreme Court. Most unfortunately, 11(6) applications are pending since last 4 years. That is the most unfortunate thing as far as High Court is concerned. I don't know the Supreme Court. Even to appoint an arbitrator under Section 11(6), if it takes 4 years, the very purpose of Arbitration and Conciliation Act is being defeated. But who is responsible for that particular? In most of the cases, if an application is filed under Section 11(6), the petitioner counsels and petitioners are facing a lot of problem in serving the notices on the other side. That one problem we have. Because of the complicated procedural law in India, serving of summons, etc. So the applications under 11(6) is getting delayed. So for that reason, now even for service of summons, the approach of the courts and the judiciaries, now there is change. Even a notice served through WhatsApp message is sufficient. Even notice sent through email, notice sent through SMS are sufficient. Even nowadays we are permitting the service of notice through electronic mode. So that is the change in the judiciary. It is not that we are not changing. We are changing. In earlier, when Evidence Act was enacted, there was no email, there was no WhatsApp, there was no SMS. Whenever there are new apps, we are permitting now. Electronic evidence, we are permitting now. So that's how even we are going with the society. It's not that we are not going with the society. And for pendency, I'll tell you one thing. Before Corona, in December or January, I was sitting in a division bench. So our division bench, we have this first appeal provision, CCCS and first appeal provision. The oldest appeals are of 1999. So for experimental basis, we have listed 5 appeals. In all 5 matters, either the appellant advocate or respondent advocate came and sought adjournment. Whom we have to blame, tell me. So we have to blame yourself. 99 appeals, they sought adjournment in 2019. That is the most unfortunate situation. So let us not blame anybody, let us blame ourselves. One more thing. Incidentally, I am also member of Artificial Intelligence Committee. And pursuant to the directions of Honorable Supreme Court, every High Court constituted an Artificial Intelligence Committee. I am also a member of it. And our Chief Justice is the chairman. And incidentally, we had the first meeting on Friday. So Supreme Court also directed all the High Courts to create some tools for speedy justice or improve the justice delivery system. So we have decided, the other day we had a meeting and we have decided to create some tools. Suppose 25% of my experience since last 1 year as judge, sitting judge of High Court is, 25% of the cases are became infructuous. That means a person files a writ petition challenging a particular order. Suppose if the court grants stay, that order will be stayed, that proceedings will be stayed. I'll tell you a glaring example. A petition under section 482 of CRPC is filed to quash FIR. Court did not grant stay and notice is ordered. Ultimately, notice will not serve, it will list after 5 or 6 years. In the meanwhile, police will complete the investigation, they will file charge sheet, and it will be taken cognizance by the concerned court. Ultimately, that criminal case will be ended either way, acquittal or conviction. So the 482 petition filed before High Court is pending, challenging the FIR. FIR is over. Once charge sheet is filed, FIR is over. So that's how 20% of the cases became infructuous. So now we are thinking of preparing a tool with the help of technicians, and because as judges we don't have that technical knowledge. So we are trying to keep one tool under artificial intelligence to monitor these things. So like that, for example, even I also suggested the other day, medical admission matters. Medical admission matters a division bench has to deal with. As far as our High Court is concerned, I don't know the other High Courts. Medical admissions, you are aware, it is all India examination. NTA is conducting the examination. And one petition, a person files a petition in Kerala High Court. He'll get one order. And the other person will file a petition in Calcutta High Court. So there also Calcutta High Court passes an order. With the same issue, the other student will file a litigation in Telangana. So to monitor these things, common issues like medical admissions and so many other issues, are the even service matters, Central Administrative Tribunal will pass orders. So to monitor all these things, now we are trying to create one tool under artificial intelligence. So these are the steps being taken by the courts and also by the legislature from time to time by using the technology like artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. And we are now trying to push the things. So with regard to pendency in Hyderabad, Telangana High Court, we have the pendency in Telangana High Court is 2,15,000. The sanction strength of High Court judges is 24. Now we are only 14 judges. So this court is virtually functioning with 40% of the judges. And whereas Gujarat High Court and Kerala High Court, the pendency is about 1,10,000, 20,000. There they have 44 judges. So that one problem we have. It is not that we don't have any problem. Whom we have to blame now for non-increasing of strength, non-filling up of the vacancies? This is one aspect. And as I told you, government is the biggest litigant. So that is the reason government is not thinking of reducing the litigation. As far as the central government is concerned, more particularly tax side. So they have reviewed the entire litigation of the country, and ultimately they have their own litigation policy. Litigation policy. Suppose if a litigation involves a particular financial implication, then only they will file appeal or some other writ petition or appeal, etc. Otherwise they don't file. But even that is being misused. I'll tell my experience. I was Assistant Solicitor General of India before my elevation. So a person from Jakarta, a person of Hyderabad, he has applied for, he has planned to import gold from Jakarta, Indonesia. So the gold he planned to import was 1,500 grams. So then the importing of gold was in violation of the guidelines issued by RBI. So then the original authority, the tax authority raised an objection saying that this import is illegal. So his order, he has confirmed the order, and the appeal was filed. Appeal also, the original order was confirmed. And ultimately he filed an appeal before the SECTAT tribunal, which is in Bangalore for entire South India. So tribunal gave order in his favor, in favor of the person who planned to export the import the gold. So by virtue of this litigation policy, central government did not file any appeal challenging the order passed by the tribunal. So by taking advantage of that particular order of the tribunal, the other person, he made an application for importing of 156 kgs of gold in Haryana and 220 kgs in Maharashtra. So when the original authority again raised objection saying that this import is in violation of RBI guidelines, etc. Therefore, you can't import. So then he has shown the order passed by the tribunal. Tribunal order is in my favor. Therefore, you can't raise this objection. This objection is overruled. So what's happening? People are taking advantage of the system. Because central government, they don't want to file a particular litigation by virtue of this litigation policy. So they have not filed appeal challenging the order passed by tribunal. Therefore, people are watching that. People are literally inventing the litigation. They are watching, they are trying to get the orders and trying to violate the law. So we can't blame dispute. I want to make one thing clear. Mr. Janardhan Reddy should appreciate this. Dispute is inevitable. Dispute is inevitable. If you see the revenue, the judge who is holding the revenue court, highest number of cases will be there in revenue. And officers, I'll tell my one example. Recently, one election petition came up before me. It's a primary agricultural cooperative society consisting of 30 members. I'll tell you the litigation in India. Agricultural Cooperative Society consisting of 13 members. So during COVID period on 7/8, the State Election Authority has issued election notification to conduct elections on 16th. And the Election Authority received a report from the District Cooperative Officer saying that sales officer of that particular society tested positive and the manager of a particular bank which is also situated in the very same building in which the society is situated also tested positive. Therefore, cancel the elections. So a member who is interested, out of 13 members who is interested in conducting the election, because he is having majority, suppose elections are going to be conducted, he is going to succeed. So he filed a writ petition saying that the election authority is not having power to cancel. At the most, the election authority can postpone as per the rules. But language used in the rule is postponement. So the officer, she is a senior officer of cooperative department. She has not read the rule. Only 3 lines. The election authority is having power to postpone the elections. She can't cancel, but she has cancelled. Whom to blame now? So ultimately, I granted stay. I told them conduct the elections. So then, 3 writ petitions filed on the next day. So this officer again gave election date. 3 writ petitions. See, 13. A society consists of primary agricultural society consisting of 13 members. 1 writ petition initially. And 3 writ petition thereafter saying that out of 13, 1 tested positive, other 3 contacted positive case and they are under quarantine, therefore postpone again. Then all 3, most unfortunately, all 3 writ petitions came before me. So I am the judge who has directed the State Election Authority to complete the election. So when the election date is fixed, then again 3 writ petition. See the litigation. Under normal circumstances, what is that I have to do? I have to postpone the election because out of 13, 1 tested positive, 3 are under quarantine. Normally, court has to grant stay. But I got my own doubt. So I said the election should go on. Otherwise, 10 writ petitions will come. Litigation will increase. So I have gone through the documents filed by the petitioners. Most unfortunately, by virtue of the law laid down by the High Court, under 226 even we can examine the factual aspects. So I have gone through the documents filed by them. I said all the documents are not proper, not genuine. Therefore, let the elections go on. Once election law is set on motion, it can't be postponed. Like that, I have gave my own finding. Elections were held. So that is the beauty of litigation. What to do? So who is responsible for the entire system? So what I am trying to say is dispute is inevitable. Whether it is a family dispute or whether it is a revenue dispute or cooperative dispute or waqf, we don't know. Dispute is inevitable and we should be ready to resolve it. Whether we are going to resolve alternatively or whether we are going to resolve directly or indirectly. But let us be ready to resolve the issues. I want to bring one important fact to the notice of all the people sitting here. The other day, somebody was telling in the artificial intelligence meeting, in China, they are preparing, they are planning to have apps and also the computers by taking the advantage of the technology. So in a judge place, they will have their own computer or robot. I don't know because the technology is computers and all those things are Greek and Latin for me because I am not having much knowledge on that particular aspect. Anyway, now they are trying to have a computer or robot. And the complainant will send, or a person who is having grievance will send a particular petition or complaint to that particular robot or computer. And the computer will issue notice to the other side. Other side will submit their reply or written statement or defense, whatever you call, to the computer. So computer is going to give the decision. That's how now they are planning in China. So now we taking 330 years, as said by me, Professor Vinod Kumar and Mr. Janardhan Reddy, these are all exaggerations. Let us be ready. Let us try to resolve the issues and let us push the things. A country like India with 135 crores of population, with so many people, so many cultures, caste, this and that, definitely disputes will be there. We have to look for alternative dispute resolution system and resolve the things. We are also trying to introduce many other systems like plea bargaining, etc. In America, there is one system. Suppose if a person is convicted under a particular offense, the person convicted can bargain for a plea, saying that you have imposed 7 years punishment. I will go for imprisonment for 1 year or 2 years. So he will start bargaining. That is called plea bargaining. Suppose the court accepts for 1 year or 2 years and both the parties comes to a conclusion, then he will undergo for 1 year or 2 years conviction and he will come out. So that is one system called plea bargaining, which we don't have in India, according to my knowledge. Madam has to say, Radharani Garu, because she is in the trial side, she has to say, because I never practiced trial courts. So that one system we have. It is not that we are not trying to study the various systems of various legal systems of the world. We are studying all the systems, and we are also trying to resolve the disputes at the early by using the various systems like artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. Anyway, I want to congratulate the organizers and trustees of this particular trust, Telangana Mediation and Arbitration Center. And as one of the speakers said, there are many centers now, mediation and arbitration centers. Now credibility is important. So your trust should have credibility. Even we have in High Court, mediation and arbitration center. We have selected advocates. We have sent them to Singapore and other countries for training. But virtually it is not functioning. We don't know the reasons, because I am also a new judge, I don't know the reasons, but it is failure as far as High Court Mediation and Arbitration Center is concerned. So what I am trying to say is, Madam is there, credibility is important. Even we have so many free legal aid centers, but nobody is coming to the legal aid center to take the help. They are straight away going to the lawyer. And less I talk about the fraternity, because lawyers are also, they are also human beings. Suppose a wife goes to a lawyer with some issue. So what they are doing, they are filing first, they are lodging a complaint under 498A. They are filing DVC, domestic violence complaint. They are also filing an application under section 125 of CRPC claiming maintenance. So one issue, 4 cases. So it all depends. So therefore, credibility to this particular trust and organization is also very important. People will not come just like that. Unless you create confidence, you gain their confidence, they will not come to you. And I have seen the objectives of this particular trust. Objectives are very good. And whatever help, whether it is within the law, within the purview of law, whatever support and help from the court or judiciary. So I am there with the trust. It is my assurance. I will be with you. Anytime you can come to me for any help. So anyway, my congratulations to the trustees. and I wish all the best to them. Thank you, and all.